Hey, Soul Rights. Talking to my buddy Choice. It's been a while since we caught up, and he's playing out an idea for me that I'm liking a lot. Ties in really easily to this athleo principle we're going to build out over time. Intellect, emotion, will, unity, having our body being the part of us that we use to steer all that stuff, or at least we present our bodies in as much as we're presenting all that stuff. So I just want to introduce you to him and just watch him play this idea out.
Hi, Soul Rights. My name is Choice, and so the idea that I was, just playing around with, something that's kind of swirled around for a little while now, has been the idea that the spirit and the mind inhabit the same place, just as the heart and the brain inhabit the same body. I feel that the spirit and the mind inhabit the same soul. So, if that's the case, just as our heart and our brain can rail against each other sometimes in relationships, in our desires, I think that the spirit and the mind will often rail against each other, battling each other out. And
Mine never rail. They wail.
Yeah, exactly. So, the thought, I guess, would be that the spirit and the mind do want to become one. They want to intertwine. They want to feel good together. Just as, you want to have a logical love relationship with the new girl that you met or the new job that you're pursuing. You want to love the idea and see logic behind it. In the same way, I think that sometimes we feel like this is either a spirit thing or this is a mind thing. This makes sense, or this brings a sense of enlightenment, or a sense of logic, or a sense of love, passion. And I don't think that those are mutually exclusive. I think that the cool thing about it is that it can be both things. And they want to work together. They really, really want to work together. I think a lot of times we feed one more than the other, just in the way that we can follow our heart, our love, our passion, and throw aside every sense of intelligent decision making, just like we can do that, and that feels really good. Or we can know that we're right. We can be confident in what we're doing and have all the facts and all the thoughts lined up and be confident in it and hate the thing. Hate the practice of it, or hate the idea of it. I think that those two things often fight and quarrel. But just like our heart and our mind can quarrel, our heart and our brain can quarrel like that, and rail against each other, I think that our soul needs our spirit and our mind to become one, to intertwine, intertangle. You were telling me about how you find yourself exhausted sometimes as your spirit grows, mentally just drained as the spirit grows, and I feel the same. But the thing is, it's all about what you're feeding, and or vice versa. I think that as our minds grow, they become exhausted, but they can also stamp out our spirit. And so I don't have the answer. I really don't. I don't have the answer for how to get there, how to get to the place where they're working together. But I know that in my marriage with my wife, our love is starting to find this rhythm of brain and heart. A lot of people were concerned that I wanted to jump into a marriage so quickly. We had only been dating. We had only been dating for 2 months when I decided that I wanted...
Best man, by the way. I could tell he wasn't going to say that. I need to get that out there.
Oh man, I still need the speech in writing. It was a beautiful thing.
The written version is better than what was spoken. Spoken fell apart a little bit.
But the spoken part made me cry. So, I mean,
mission accomplished.
The people were scared and nervous about me chasing after my heart and setting my mind to the side. I was so blessed that our union was blessed by God, and that it still is a beautiful, wonderful thing. Only a year and a half into it, I'm sure that there are tons of rocky roads ahead, but I'm starting to see a point where the logic has come around. The idea that this wasn't a bad decision, that this partnership, although requiring so much effort and so much work, has involved the heart and the brain. And they're intertwined, but they're not strangling each other out. And so getting there with our relationship with God is, I think that it is not just, it can't just be all heart or all spirit, and it can't be all mind. It has to be both. It has to intertwine in some way without strangling one another.
It's very helpful. When I read St. Teresa's Interior Castle, I went into the book thinking that I was going to get something like an architecture of the soul. I got a lot of beautiful mysticism from it and a lot of how to experience God, but I didn't get the architecture that a part of me has been wanting. And that question seems to rub people in two different ways. There's the people that are just inherently intuitive and very, just the way they were born into God's presence, very mystical. They understand it like poetry, and they don't need to be able to describe it. And then I see the other people that are like, oh, that would be helpful if we could have something like the anatomy and physiology of the soul. And then there's people in the middle that just don't care. I don't talk to them. I don't care. I think I'm kind of torn between the two. There's parts of it that I understand intuitively, and there's other parts that I wish I could have descriptively. And something about the way you were talking about the contention of mind and spirit and inhabiting the same space, that they are organs in the same heavenly body. That gives me a little bit of verbal technology for that.
Yeah. I mean, for me, some people think the mind is here and the spirit is here, whereas I find those are two different locations. They meet somewhere in the middle. And, an interesting thought was, and this is just a brand new thought, that place is right here at the mouthpiece. The words that we speak and the words that we hear, if this being the center place.
There's precedent for that. I mean, James is the one. He said that if you bridle the mouth, you bridle the whole body.
Yeah.
So looking at that verbal discipline as the first discipline and the thing that chains the rest of us to who we are and what we do.
Well, yeah, and I mean,
even in your marriage context, you're talking about all this stuff about brain, heart, strivings, and there was no marriage until both of you said,
right.
I do.
Yeah, and I mean, so let's just go not just the mouth, but also the ears. I think anybody who's been married for more than a day knows that it requires a lot of listening. and not just from a masculine, feminine sort of standpoint. Yes, sometimes females talk a lot, and sometimes males don't talk enough, but on both parts, it requires listening, understanding, and communicating.
It's the opposite in his marriage. In the talking business, you're more the girl in that dynamic. Right?
Well, in the talking business, but not in the listening business.
Did I just out you on Facebook?
Yeah, you did, but not in the listening. I still listen like a man.
Yeah.
No, I think that when we apply that to spirit and mind, listening for what God has to share with us and speaking about what God has shared with us is quintessential to uniting the spirit and mind. In the case of marriage, we are talking about two hearts and two brains, and connecting those. And I think that the times that we are at our worst is when we don't individually have our heart and our brain connected. So if my heart and brain are not working together, it's impossible for me to work with her heart and brain. And vice versa, for sure. So I like to think that our God has his heart, his brain, his spirit, his mind working in unison. But I don't always have mine. So I think that connecting those things is really quintessential to connecting with the Holy Soul, the boundless love. I think that without both working in harmony, they don't have to be equals, and they don't have to be perfect, but they have to be working together.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that Blaise Pascal quote as you've been talking. The heart has reasons that reason does not know. And I think sometimes we could even say the heart has reasons that reason cannot know.
Sure.
They have their own inclination, they have their own antennae before the heavens. Different things are perceptible to each of them. And what's neat is when those signals start to cross wires, cross lines.
Yeah, definitely.
That frequency can make for distortion, or it can make for a really beautiful harmony.
Right. Yeah. I think the discord definitely teaches us. I think that just in the way that we wouldn't know love if we didn't know fear, I think it has its place. But I think that if you have been alive for more than 10 minutes, you've found what discord sounds like. And I think so many of us become too comfortable in the discord.
That becomes the new normal.
Yeah.
Or the only normal.
Yeah, the frequency feedback no longer offends our ears. The ears of our spirit and the ears of our minds. And I think that to hear harmony again might even be the new discord. But it won't take long to find the beauty in that harmony at all. I think that's the case in the church. With so many of us, it needs to have rules, regulations, logic, understanding. I think that stuff is so important. I think it's so important. But as a lifelong rebel, I hate those things. For me, it was always about the passion of the heart. The beautiful things, the beauty of creation, the beauty of the sacrifice of the lamb, the beauty of good feelings and wonderful blessings. I think that was always something that drew me towards it. But that without the logic, the rules, the understanding, it didn't mesh. There was always some sort of discord, and therefore there was no satisfaction in it. The passion for God's love would dwindle out so quickly because there was no structure for it.
That's good. I mean, the classic Trinitarian expression of truth and beauty and goodness, I think we could directly correlate to the mind, the heart, the will.
Yeah.
And all of those things need physical manifestations.
Yeah.
Need our bodies to express them.
Definitely.
So if you have one without the other two, or two without the one, you're always going to have an ugly dissonance as a result.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. So we're going to keep working at this together. We want to see, of course, that full expression of truth and beauty and goodness in the church, in the way that we do community together. Even as we're not in full agreement, we're chasing after that. And I think a good way to lay hold of that in the legacy of the church is continuing to train that stuff in ourselves. So we have to become integrated units of intellect, emotions, will. We have to point our bodies in that direction. And this business has given me some teeth to do it. I like it.
Cool. Yeah, me too. And I think that as we continue to grow things forward in that direction, we'll find that the commonality is there amongst all of the different thought processes.
Talking about different traditions in the church?
Yeah, or just how we receive God's love.
Mm-hmm.
We're each different. That's the wonderful thing about us, is that we are these precious snowflakes, and we receive it all in different ways. And there are different flavors that suit us best. But I think that as we allow the spirit and the mind to work together, we will see that there is commonality between all of it. From the staunchest to the loosest, we'll find it. I really think it's there. And I mean, you can boil it down as simple as this. It is there, and that's God's love.
Let's play. We're going to bring this in for a landing in a second. And I didn't have this idea until just now. So we've got some history together. We've seen each other in good and bad times. But we've never asked this question of each other. And so, in the intellect, emotion, will arrangement of a person, we got to answer for each other where we see the other. And so, what do you think my balance looks like? What do you think my tendency is? Which one pulls the other ones? What does it look like when it's balanced? While you're thinking about it, I'm going to think about it.
Okay.
I think you are a heart-first kind of person. I think the way you do life is the heart. I'm going that way. And then if you go that way and it doesn't work out, you'll have a reckoning. And it'll take a little while for the mind to go, this is bad. The mind will coach the heart.
Definitely.
Eventually the heart will listen. And then you refocus, and the will gives you the about face. You change directions. But even when you go in good directions, your heart runs there first. And then your mind catches up with reasons. Yeah, this is good. I was right. My heart went the right way. And then your will reinforces all that stuff, battens down the hatches on that decisions.
Definitely. That's me in a nutshell, for sure. But I think you're a little more complex than that. I really do. No. I mean it. I've seen you chase after the heart. I've seen you chase after the will. I've seen you chase after the intellect in different phases of your life. I think that sometimes intellect has the stronghold. I think if we're playing King of the Hill, he's probably holding the belt. But the heart and the intellect, or the heart and the will, often have won the title. I have seen you spend long times processing something. I've seen you spend a long time chasing after something heart first, and I've seen you. So I don't know. It's hard to bet. It's hard to nail you down on that one. I'd say intellect has the belt for sure, but
there's been championship contention.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's good.
So if you're looking for your perfect balance, here it is. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Because perfect balance looks like an ongoing title contention.
Right.
Actually, I think it does. I think it has to look like that until they're the same thing.
Yeah.
In a sense, they are. Because when we talk about the soul, we're talking about all of these things in the same sphere.
Definitely.
But making it so that the injury of one organ isn't affecting the health of another.
Right.
So we all have our isms that we struggle with, or the isms that propel us into better living, but that's still the first kind of instinct that we have to operate with. This was fun. Glad we did this to each other.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't give me anything helpful to work with. It was good.
I wouldn't dare.
Yeah.
I wouldn't dare.
Thanks for talking with us.
Yeah.
It's my buddy Choice. Got a lot of good stuff to say. We don't see each other enough. And I blame Tasha for that. Just gonna throw that out there, Tasha, girl. I'm still the butthurt ex-boyfriend a little bit. Best man title was just a concession prize.
Well, that's all I have to say on the matter.
Yeah, right. All ears. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Soul Rights. Let us know what you think. Let's play this idea out. See ya.